Rock stars have always carried an aura of danger, charisma, and chaos. They represent rebellion against the ordinary, living on the edge where fame, fortune, and reckless abandon collide. For decades, fans have been fascinated not only by the music these icons create, but also by the unbelievable lives they lead behind the curtain. From outrageous behavior on stage to near-death experiences, from secret missions to hidden acts of generosity, the legends of rock stars often sound too wild to be true. Yet, time and again, history proves that reality is stranger than fiction. Today, we are diving deep into 5 of the craziest, most shocking, and least known stories about rock legends. These tales go far beyond the cliches of trashed hotel rooms and endless parties. Instead, they reveal moments of sheer survival, bizarre choices, secret lives, and untold acts of humanity. By the end of this journey, you'll realize that these rock stars lived lives as unpredictable as the music they gave the world. So buckle up, because once you hear these stories, you'll never look at these legends the same way again. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another deep dive into the wild world of music history. Keith Richards, cheating death, twice in a single day. When people talk about Keith Richards, the legendary guitarist of the Rolling Stones, they often speak with a tone of disbelief. Known for his heavy lifestyle, his brushes with death have become the stuff of rock folklore. But perhaps the most shocking story came in 1965 when Richards cheated death not once, but twice, all within the same day. That year, the Rolling Stones were riding a tidal wave of fame. The band had gone from playing small London clubs to selling out venues worldwide. With fame came a whirlwind lifestyle filled with late nights, endless touring, and more than a few reckless decisions. Richards, barely in his 20s at the time, was already living a life that many thought would burn him out quickly. One afternoon in London, Richards was involved in a serious car accident. Accounts vary, but it is widely agreed that the crash could easily have taken his life. The vehicle was badly damaged, and Richards suffered injuries that would have sent most people straight to the hospital. Yet, in true rock star fashion, he shrugged it off and decided to carry on as if nothing had happened. Later that same day, Richards boarded a plane to his next destination. Fate, however, wasn't done with him yet. Mid-flight, the plane experienced a terrifying engine failure. For a few tense moments, it seemed like the aircraft might not make it. Passengers braced for disaster, but miraculously, the pilot managed to land safely. Richards once again walked away unharmed. To experience 2 brushes with death in a single day would leave most people shaken to their core. For Keith Richards, it became just another story in a life defined by survival. He would later remark that living as a rock and roll soldier taught him to stare death in the face and keep moving forward. This event only strengthened his myth as the man who refused to die, a reputation that follows him to this day. Ozzy Osbourne, the truth behind the bat incident. Few moments in rock history are as infamous as the night Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a bat during a live concert. For decades, it has been retold as the ultimate act of rock and roll shock value, cementing Ozzy as the Prince of Darkness. Yet the real story behind that shocking act is far stranger, and perhaps more disturbing than most fans realize. The year was 1982. Ozzy Osbourne was at the height of his solo career after his departure from Black Sabbath. His concerts were notorious for theatrics, wild energy, and outrageous stunts that blurred the line between horror and rock spectacle. Fans often brought props to his shows, rubber toys, stuffed animals, and sometimes even strange live offerings to throw on stage. During a performance in Des Moines, Iowa, a fan tossed what Ozzy believed to be a rubber bat onto the stage. In the heat of the moment, feeding the energy of the crowd, Ozzy picked up the bat and sank his teeth into it. What he didn't realize, until it was too late, was that the bat was real. Shocked and horrified, Ozzy found himself with a dead animal in his mouth in front of thousands of screaming fans. The aftermath was immediate and serious. Ozzy was rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency rabies treatment, which included a series of painful shots. Later interviews revealed that he wasn't even certain if the bat had been alive or dead when he bit it, though he suspected it had been alive. The incident became legend, one of the defining moments of his career, and it solidified his image as the ultimate wild man of rock. The Beatles' covert role in India. Rock stars as spies? The Beatles' trip to India in 1968 is remembered as a turning point in their careers. It was during their stay at the ashram of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that they composed many of the songs that would later appear on the iconic White Album. But behind the peaceful images of meditation and spiritual awakening lies a lesser-known tale. The Beatles were allegedly involved in a covert intelligence mission. At the time, India was a country of immense political tension. The Cold War was playing out globally, and the presence of foreign celebrities was not something taken lightly. Reports suggest that Indian authorities were wary of the ashram being a potential hotspot for espionage, countercultural activity, or even radical influence. According to some accounts, John Lennon and George Harrison were approached by officials and subtly encouraged to observe and report any suspicious behavior within the ashram. While this was not formal espionage in the sense of cloak and dagger missions, it placed the Beatles in an unusual position, unwitting cultural icons becoming the eyes and ears of intelligence. For John and George, who were already disillusioned with aspects of the Maharishi's teachings, the experience added another layer of tension to their stay. They kept journals and notes, some of which hinted at their discomfort and suspicions during their time there. Historians later debated whether this was genuine intelligence work or merely a precautionary measure framed by rumors. Regardless, the story illustrates just how influential and disruptive the Beatles had become. Their presence in India was not just a musical or cultural event. It had political and security implications that stretched far beyond the music industry. The idea that two of the world's most famous musicians could be drawn into a government's intelligence concerns shows the surreal power of celebrity at the height of the 1960s counterculture movement. David Bowie, reinventing himself to escape the mafia. David Bowie was perhaps the most versatile and chameleonic artist in rock history. From Ziggy Stardust to the Thin White Duke, his ability to reinvent himself was legendary. But behind one of his most dramatic transformations lay a darker story: Bowie's need to escape the reach of the mafia. In the 1970s, Bowie's fame had skyrocketed, but with fame came connections to dangerous people. Stories circulated that Bowie had gotten tangled in debts, threats, and confrontations with figures tied to organized crime. The exact details remain murky, but biographers have suggested that Bowie feared for his safety during this period. Faced with mounting pressure and danger, Bowie disappeared from public view for a time. When he re-emerged, he was no longer Ziggy Stardust, the flamboyant alien rock star. Instead, he adopted the persona of the Thin White Duke, a stark, enigmatic figure dressed in sharp suits, his music colder and more detached. This wasn't just an artistic reinvention. For Bowie, it was a disguise, a protective shell to keep himself safe from those who might have been looking for him. The Thin White Duke became one of Bowie's most iconic characters, but also one of his darkest. It reflected not only his artistic genius, but also his survival instinct. Reinvention was his shield, and by changing his identity, Bowie was able to slip out of sight and out of danger. This story demonstrates how Bowie's creativity was not just about pushing boundaries in art, but also about navigating the dangerous undercurrents of the life he lived. His personas were more than costumes. They were lifelines. Freddie Mercury, the rock star who gave in secret. When most people think of Freddie Mercury, they remember the dazzling frontman of Queen with his powerful voice, flamboyant performances, and larger-than-life presence. But behind the glitter and spectacle was a man whose generosity knew no bounds. What makes Freddie's story extraordinary is that he gave millions to charity throughout his life, and he did it quietly, never seeking recognition. During his career, Freddie donated to causes that were deeply personal to him. He supported AIDS research long before it became a mainstream issue, providing funds to organizations working tirelessly against the disease that would eventually claim his life. He also gave to charities supporting children, the underprivileged, and humanitarian relief efforts. Unlike many celebrities who attach their names to foundations for publicity, Freddie insisted that his giving remain private. Friends and associates later revealed that he believed true charity came without the spotlight. He wanted to make a difference without fanfare, quietly ensuring that his wealth was used for good. It was only after his death in 1991 that the full extent of his philanthropy came to light. Charities and beneficiaries spoke of donations that had been made anonymously, only later traced back to Freddie. To his fans, who knew him as the ultimate showman, this hidden side of his life added another layer of depth to his legacy. He was not only a musical icon, but also a man of compassion and humility. Freddie Mercury's secret philanthropy is a reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are the ones done in silence. His story proves that rock stars, even at their wildest, can embody generosity and humanity in ways the public rarely sees. Conclusion. From Keith Richards' impossible survival, to Ozzy Osbourne's shocking mistake, to the Beatles' strange role in Cold War politics, to Bowie's reinvention as a means of escape, and finally to Freddie Mercury's secret generosity, these stories remind us that the legends of rock were more than just musicians. They were survivors, tricksters, rebels, and humanitarians. Their lives blurred the line between myth and reality, creating tales that continue to fascinate and inspire. Rock stars didn't just make music, they lived lives that became stories worth retelling for generations. So, which of these stories blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments below. Smash that like button if you love diving into rock history, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another unbelievable tale from the world of music. And stick around, because next week we'll be uncovering the untold stories behind some of rock's most infamous band breakups. You definitely don't want to miss it.